Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Steve, and I have the privilege of guiding you through this celebration for the life of Patricia Barnes, or affectionately, Pat, to her family and friends. And to celebrate her long and rich life with you, we will give thanks for everything she meant to us, and to say goodbye now that our time with Pat has come to an end. Please can you ensure all mobile devices are switched off or turned to silent. I extend a warm welcome today to granddaughter Chloe in New Orleans in the United States, and sister Jackie and partner John in Blidworth, who join with us today by the facility of webcast as we pay tribute to Pat and say our fond farewell. Donations may be made today as you leave the chapel in memory of Pat to the benefit of Dementia UK. I've been asked to cordially invite everyone here for refreshments following this service and to share further memories of Pat and raise a glass to her at the Robin Hood Neighbourhood Centre on the Chase in St Anne's. And ladies and gentlemen, I note that details are contained on the rear of your order of service. As we reflect with Pat today, may I invite you to share in the photograph provided for us on the order of service, and of course, that sits with Pat today. On entering the chapel, we sang and played a song today, which she heard from the Western Rio Grande, and often sang to granddaughter Chloe. This song was chosen for us today by Chloe for our service. I bring with me today the offer of sincere condolences from all the team at Funeral Care. We are so sorry for your loss, and it's our hope that this time together will help to bring some peace into something which can be such a heartache. I would like to thank you all for being here today. Your presence is encouraging and a tribute in itself. You have come to something that is not just a funeral, but a celebration of Pat's life. We all join together today to celebrate that life, although it is of course important that we also acknowledge our grief. Please allow yourselves time to grieve in the days following this service as your relationship changes with Pat from one of physical presence to a host of treasured memories. What Pat has left us with is the difference she made to the countless lives she touched. Lives certainly bettered by her dedication, devotion and determination. Lives touched by the kindness and love within her heart. There will be many different reflections of Pat, as we each have our own memories of her life today. We all share a common goal in making this a day to remember for all the good things that came from a life so generously shared. Pat was loved by her family and respected by friends and colleagues alike. A beautiful, knowledgeable, wise and hard-working lady with a wonderful smile. She cherished her family, always willing to help others in whatever way she could. She blessed us with her love and kindness, making this world a brighter place. Pat began her journey on the 16th of March, 1938, born in Sheffield to her parents, Gertrude and George Webber, part of a very large family consisting of 15 sisters and 2 brothers. These were hard and austere times, residing in a terraced home, sleeping top to toe in beds, having an outside toilet and a tin bath in front of the fire. It was especially harsh in the winters of many years ago. The local Catholic schools were attended for her education, and Pat held vivid memories of being taught by very strict nuns. The phrase we remember was "first up, best dressed," or in plainer terms, the first to rise had the choice of the better clothes. Pat loved to dress smartly, always well dressed and a pretty girl. In these years, with several of her sisters, she enjoyed visiting the local picture house to appreciate the stars of the silver screen, which certainly included John Wayne. On completing a formal education, she worked initially at Fletcher's Bakers, where she learned about all aspects of bread, able to teach her children how to identify a freshly baked or more stale loaf. She moved on, now finding work at the local Bassett's factory, making licorice all sorts. Perhaps in search of new horizons, Pat enlisted in the Women's Royal Army Corps, or RAC, and being of slight build, she was so small that a special uniform had to be made for her. Following basic training, she trained as a chef, developing the skills, knowledge and experience of the role, which encompassed all aspects of food preparation, both within barracks and in the field. The role trained Pat to cater for literally hundreds of men and women. She was recognised for her skills and ability, being promoted to the rank of corporal. We remember with a smile her family hold fond memories of Pat, preparing meals in the kitchen. How did she do it? She just chucked everything in the pot, and it tasted simply the best. Although there were some meals that Tricia crept off and went for tea at a friend's house. During military service, her best friend was Janet Kerr, and Pat became bridesmaid at her wedding. A cherished photograph records the occasion, which you will share shortly. Having now returned to civilian life, she met James Smith, or Spider. The couple later married at the Sheffield Registry Office in 1959. The couple were delighted to welcome their 3 children, Annette, Jackie and Patricia, into their family. The family home moved to Reneth, renting rooms, and then in their own home on Harlow Street in Blydydd. She performed the traditional role of housewife or homemaker in the modern term. Her children grew up in a safe and loving home, free to develop within their own lives, ensuring her family were always well loved, fed and clothed. A protective, strong and always strict mum, especially in their developing years, Pat was kind, caring and encouraging, embedding a firm set of standards in all her children. When necessary, there was a little instant justice. The couple now took separate paths in life. The family home moved to Central Avenue, again in Blydydd. Pat had already commenced work at Newstead Hospital, initially as a domestic cleaner and later trained as an auxiliary nurse. Here, with a kind and caring nature, she cared for psychiatric and geriatric patients, becoming a loved and respected member of staff. Pat really enjoyed working here and made so many friends. She was never afraid of hard work. In these years, she met Morgan Barnes. They shared a relationship for 3 years and eventually married. Sadly, Morgan now passed away. Finding the strength to continue her life, Pat became a relief warden at Chapel Close in Kirkby and Ashfield, a Baptist-supported living environment, working at weekends and covering annual holiday absences. The role brought accommodation, although she received no wages. She now moved to Rookwood Close in Blydydd, where she became good friends with Marion. They really were a right pair. They ran coffee mornings and enjoyed bingo together, sharing many meals out in local cafes, stories, laughs and happy times. One purchased the Sun and the other the Daily Mirror. They then swapped papers, The print was definitely read off both newspapers. A new opportunity came, cleaning for a local haulage company within the offices, and later a final role came, cleaning for Courtaulds in Mansfield. Whilst working here, there were fringe benefits, coming home with a jumper and other clothing items. A popular, friendly and fun-loving lady. No one wanted her to retire. She was loved by all the staff. It was, though, from this role that she finally retired. Although, as you will all know, Pat, she never sat still. Having a love for cleaning, a bottle of bleach was never far from her reach. So much so that eventually she became nicknamed Pat Bleach. If her family went out and Pat called round, they returned home, the house had been cleaned. Undoubtedly, she loved hygiene, a lady of standards who liked things right. The simple comment, "Nana's been, summed things up." There was a definite aroma of bleach. She held a love for knitting, which came in handy with a growing family or friends with a baby on the way, creating knitted clothes, especially for Patricia. She held a delicate dexterity to complete intricate sewing work. We remember the wedding dress for Annette, which she married Ian, requiring some alteration. It had layers and layers of silk. Never daunted, she took it home, making the alterations to an incredibly high standard. She really was so supportive and even made the bridesmaids' dresses for the occasion. In more recent years, she loved charity shops, always seeking that elusive bargain. A lady with an eye for taste, she knew the styles preferred by her family and often picked up clothing for them at a very good price. A lady of high standards, her hair was done, she wore her makeup and any colour suited Pat. It really didn't matter. She always looked stunning and every outfit was accompanied by coordinated handbag, shoes and costume jewellery. She loved anything sparkly and was definitely a little bit of a magpie. The family bond was maintained, often travelling to Sheffield to support her sisters and their families. Pat always held that kind and caring heart. She was straight John Bull and told you exactly what she thought, honest and straightforward, never suffering fools gladly, and if you didn't like it, then tough shit. The passing years brought a growing family, welcoming Annette's husband Ian and Jackie's partner John into her family. She later became a much-loved nana to grandchildren, Johnny, Lisa, Natalie, Rachel, Lee, Shona, Chloe, Jack, Thomas and James, and later to great-grandchildren, Edna, Caden, Cameron, Catherine, Lucas, Ruby, Christopher, Archie and Ozan, who sadly passed, all of whom she was equally proud of, together with their achievements in life. No doubt she doted and loved each one so much. At one stage, Rachel and Chloe virtually lived with Pat. There have been many happy times, babysitting and enjoying holidays, sharing the contents of the children's toy box, spending many hours playing with dolls, and the children sat on her knee, cuddling and simply talking. She loved their birthday and Christmas parties. We remember with a smile Pat encouraging everyone with party games, including Twister. Anything that the kids loved, then she loved. Pat loved her grandchildren dearly, and they loved her equally in return. In recent years, she has resided within several care homes and loved her time here, certainly before the national pandemic. The entertainment included a day with the pets, during which time Pat became friendly with a snake. She also loved the companionship, including music and cabaret. A lady who loved attention. When visited by her family, she loved to chat, sharing cups of tea and coffee, reading magazines and trying clothes on. Eventually, Pat moved in with Annette, Ian and their family. There were good nights with Caden, who shared his music at midnight and enjoyed many chats at 2 o'clock in the morning. When living on Abbotsford Drive, Ian became a solid rock of care and support. Pat, she loved him dearly. Also, Ace Care for You Limited visited 4 times every day, regardless of the Great British weather. If it was a heat wave or thick snow on the ground, they showed up because of the care they gave to Pat. They were so kind and compassionate and all formed a very special bond together with Pat. I have been asked today to express on behalf of Pat and all her family a heartfelt thank you to Ian and all the team at Ace Care for You for their love, care and devotion to Pat. You have all been amazing. Thank you. Pat dearly wished that all her children and grandchildren will have love and happiness in their lives, a wish that extended out to everyone that she knew and loved. A special lady who wanted to do a good deed, and everyone she met withhold their fond memories of her. As you all know, Pat was old school and held a great moral compass, guided by a firm set of values of decency and dignity, to which she held true throughout her life. A lovely and friendly lady, loving nothing more than a good old-fashioned natter, holding a great sense of humour. Her family came first and foremost throughout her life. So important to her, she made sure she was always there for them. She quickly became the cornerstone to the younger generations and will be remembered and sadly missed as a much-loved sister, mum, nana, great-nana, and of course a companion and friend to many. Pat may have left this world, but she will never leave our thoughts or our hearts. She was an absolute gem. We may now trust that Pat is reunited with Ozan and all her family who have passed on before her for eternity. In memory of Pat, may this be a celebration of life, love and happiness. And a final word from Pat today. Hurry up and get on with it. Ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, we have each come this morning in order to pay our own personal respects to Pat. We've now heard quite a few descriptions about Pat, so let's now take a few minutes to have your own thoughts about who she was to you. Perhaps how she made you laugh, the way she helped you out or brought a solution, her own way of making you feel special. To her family, she was unique and loved. To others, she was a lady you got on with and you respected her. Whatever your association was with Pat, let's now take a few minutes to reflect and give thanks and say goodbye to a good and much-loved lady. As we reflect, ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention to the chapel screen. We will share a visual tribute prepared for us today by Ian and Pat's family. We share the music of memory, Here I Am, Lord, and time to say goodbye. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall now share a short poem. The words are contained within the insert of your order of service. It's entitled Come With Me and was written by Rhonda Braswell. God saw you getting tired and a cure was not to be. So he put his arms around you and whispered, come with me. With tearful eyes we watched you suffer and saw you fade away. Although we loved you dearly, we could not make you stay. A golden heart stopped beating, hard-working hands at rest. God broke our hearts to prove he only takes the best. It's lonesome here without you, we miss you more each day. Life doesn't seem the same since you've gone away. When days are sad and lonely and everything goes wrong, we seem to hear you whisper, cheer up and carry on. Each time we see your picture, you seem to smile and say, don't cry, I'm in God's keeping, we'll meet again someday. You never said I'm leaving, you never said goodbye. You were gone before we knew it, and only God knew why. 1,000,000 times we needed you, 1,000,000 times we cried. If love alone could have saved you, you never would have died. In life we loved you dearly, in death we love you still. In our hearts you hold a place no one could ever fill. It broke our hearts to lose you, but you didn't go alone. For part of us went with you the day God took you home. The greatest legacy someone can leave is happy memories. And when someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure, a keepsake as we now prepare to safely place Pat into our hearts and God's kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, within your order of service, it does contain the traditional words of the Lord's Prayer. If you're able to do so, may I now invite you all to be upstanding as we share those words together. As our Saviour taught us, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Pat, we honour your character, your strength and your humour. But most of all, we honour the love you gave your family and friends, for which you will be loved and cherished forever. We release you now into the freedom of wind and sunshine, into the sadness and smiles of our memories. Here in this last act, in sorrow, but without fear, in love and appreciation, we safely place Pat into our hearts and God's loving arms of mercy, believing we will share in a place of happiness, light and peace in the kingdom of your glory, forever and always. Amen. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. We have this morning celebrated the life of a very special lady. Be glad that she lived and shared your lives. Be thankful for the love that she gave, for her contribution to your world. Nothing about her life will be lost, as all that was important to her will be respected and cherished by those who follow. All that you admire will continue to mean so much to you. Speak of her often and remember with gratitude all the love she brought into your lives, the good times and happy memories you now each share together with Pat. As we listen today to our final piece of music, I will invite funeral care to come and guide you from the chapel. Please remain seated until that takes place. I bid you all a safe journey home and trust that goodness and love will follow you all the days of your lives. Our final piece of music we share today in tribute to Pat, another song which Pat often sang together with Annette on a Saturday night. We remember from Neil Reed, Mother of Mine.